Hello viewers, and welcome back to the channel for episode 10 and possibly the last episode of this GSX 750 ES 1983 reconstruction or restoration. Not much left to do now. The exhaust system is really the only outstanding major thing to do. A bit of polishing on the side covers. So the rest of it is looking pretty good. So let's see how we go with receiving this new Delkavik exhaust system and getting that to fit, and then starting it up, probably some tuning, that sort of thing. So let's get on with it. Right, well, this was delivered this morning, which is our Delkavik brand new stainless steel exhaust system. So let's have a look, see what it looks like, see if it's correct. That was very quick. I only ordered that, today's Monday. I ordered that, I think, on Thursday or something. So very quick service, all the way from Queensland. Right. Now there's our 4 header pipes, and this is the muffler. Let's have a quick look at this. Cool. Okay. The Delkavik stickers, which is handy. Brackets. And here's all the header pipes. The pipe between the headers, the collector. And then all the brackets and springs and things like that. So might have a go at installing that this afternoon, then we can start this engine up and see what it sounds like with a proper exhaust system on it. Thank you, Delkavik. Right, unfortunately it looks like we have a problem. I'm not sure what's going on, but basically these header pipes at this end have a diameter of about 45.5 millimeters, whereas the exhaust port on this bike is only about 42 millimeters, so it's not going to fit in. I actually have a spare head that came with the bike for some reason, and that measures 42 as well. Supposedly this is the right kit for this bike, so I've contacted Delkavik and waiting a response back. Bugger. Right, so I've discovered what the problem is with this exhaust system. If you go onto the Delkavik website, it's described as an 80 to 82 GSX 750E exhaust system. But then they have a bike selector on their website, which when you put in a GSX 750E 1983, it suggests that this exhaust system is the one for it. And then when you click on the actual exhaust system down the bottom, the description says it's 1980 to 83. But I've since discovered that the 80, 81, 82 exhaust ports were around 41 millimeters. No, 44.5. Whereas ours is about 41 millimeters.
So their website was in error. Now they have said that they will give me a full refund and also pay for shipping, but that basically ends up back with the same problem, that we don't have an exhaust system for this bike. So that's a fairly major issue. I've had a look around, and Delkavik don't make one. I've had a look around, I can't see anybody else who makes one for this particular bike. So what I'm thinking of doing is basically modifying this system that I've got. There's plenty of meat on the headers, so I'm thinking of grinding them down so they do fit. The rest of the kit sort of fits pretty closely. Maybe just some slight modifications to some brackets and things. So if I can get these headers ground down to the right size, I think we can probably get this to fit, because basically we don't have any other option really. So I have some grinding wheels for stainless steel on their way, and we'll see how we go with that. So obviously once I start grinding it, then I can't return it, but as I say, we don't really have any other choice, so we'll see how we go with that. Anyway, fingers crossed that we get something that works. So I came up with a jig for my grinder with stainless steel grinding disc and the headers to hold the headers in place. And I've finished the first one, so I've finished number 4 and then loosely sort of screwed that in. So that's in there quite nicely now. So it does take a while, probably about an hour each one, to slowly grind it down to the right size. But yeah, I think this is going to work. Once we get all 4 in, then we need to look at the collector box down the bottom there and work out whether we need to shorten any of these pipes or whatever, but pretty sure we can get something that will work. So there's one of the headers. This is in fact the last one. Basically after grinding, obviously you need to flatten out that front face, but there's still plenty of meat on there for the gasket. And yeah, they seem to be fitting in okay. I have to sort of put a little notch on either side where the bolt holes go through, because that boss sits out a little bit higher, but apart from that, I think this is a success. Right, so there's all 4 headers on and loosely tightened up against the compressible gaskets that are in there. So the next thing will be to work out whether we need to trim underneath to get the collector to clear the side stand, which we might have to shorten those pipes a little bit. Anyway, that's good progress, I think. So here's the finished product with the full exhaust system installed. Had to slightly modify where the muffler mounted, just drop that down a bit so it would clear the brake lever. But yeah, apart from that, I guess it's time to start it up, see what it sounds like, and then go on to any tuning that's required. Right, we've done a couple of things off camera. When I first started it with the exhaust system on, it was idling really high, around sort of 2 or 3 grand. Back in the idle off didn't make any difference, so obviously it was the pilot circuit. Did a bit of looking around, and turns out those pilot jets should be turned out 2.5 turns, not 1.5. So that's why the side covers are off, because I had to get to the carburetors. But after turning them out to 2.5, it's a lot better. So as you can see, it starts quite easily, idles reasonably. Still got to do some tuning, so I'll get the Gunson color tune on just to double check those idle circuits, and then I guess take it for some runs and check the plugs. But yeah, it's seems reasonably okay. I had to sort of pull the clutch apart again because that was doing a few weird things, so pulled that all apart and adjusted that. So yeah, it can be basically ridden now, apart from the fact that it's not registered. So, but I might just go up and down the street a bit and test a few things. The brakes are a bit spongy at the moment, but that's to be expected with brand new pads. So, but they certainly stopped me. So, yeah, reasonable progress. Now, when I first started this with the new Delkavik system on, it seemed quite loud to me, probably to the level of being annoying for me anyway. So what I did was I pulled out the baffle, and I don't know whether you can see in there, but I've wrapped a couple of layers of fiberglass matting around there, and then kept it in place with some wire wrapped around there, and that's just sort of taken the edge off it, so it still sounds good, but not quite as loud for those sort of long trips with the drone in your ear. Right, so doing some tuning on this bike. So first adjusting the pilot jets using the Gunson color tune. Discovered mine was a 14mm because I bought it from my old GS 750, which is 14mm, whereas the GSX 750 is a 12mm spark plug hole. But luckily I had this adapter in here from my compression tester, so screwed it into that and into that, and that worked fine. So I've adjusted all of those for a blue color. A couple of them were quite rich, and now the next thing I'm doing is balancing the carburetors. So if you remember, in a previous episode we adjusted these little screws to adjust all the butterflies to each other, but that's just a rough adjustment. And then basically we use these vacuum holes here on all 4 basically manifolds to then feed up to these vacuum gauges. So when it's idling they should all be pretty much the same. So I've adjusted number 3 is the one that it all comes off, because that's where the throttle cable goes. So I've adjusted number 4 to number 3, then I've adjusted number 2 to number 3. Now I need to adjust number 1, so I'm on to the last adjustment. You need to get the tank out of the way to get to these tiny little adjustment screws, but that seems to be going okay at the moment. Right, so quite possibly the very last thing I need to do to this bike is just tidy up these side covers on the engine that didn't come off. So this one here, and then this section on that side, and then also touch up that logo there with some black paint like I did on the other side. So I'll give it a wire brush and then probably Scotch Brite and then buffing wheel, then clean it down and touch up that Suzuki logo, and then put some clear over the top, and then we're pretty much done. Okay, so I've given them a bit of a polish. I'm obviously, as I said in a previous episode, I'm not going for a mirror finish, just a bit sort of cleaner and tidier. There's that side, and then there's this side, and I've redone that Suzuki logo. So yeah, that's done. Okay, so after all this work of putting this bike slowly back together and discovering which bits we had, which bits we didn't, sorting out the exhaust issue and petrol taps, and actually went pretty well really. So time for a test ride. So the first test ride, hopefully the brakes are okay, and we survived.
One hour later.
Okay, so I've been to the petrol station and filled up, and then been on about 40k ride, and yeah, no problems at all. The brakes are a little bit spongy, but that's to be expected with the new pads, etc. But certainly stops okay, handles okay. That rear shock feels okay. So yeah, quite happy with that. So basically I can now call my cousin and say, come and pick it up, because it's finished. Thanks for watching. All right, that's it for another project. This one's finished, and my cousin can come down and pick it up and go and get it registered, etc., and start riding it. I've really enjoyed doing this. Hope you've enjoyed watching it and maybe learning something or asking some questions, or just enjoying something going from a whole bunch of boxes back to a running bike. So thanks again for watching, and subscribe if you like this sort of stuff. I don't know what the next project will be, but who knows. And we'll see you in the next one. See you later.